Hey, it's Sandy with Quilted Treasures and more. I hope you have had a wonderful week. I am sitting here. I've been working on this truck here for a little bit, and this one is a truck bed full of hydrangeas. And so I'm going to put a little bit with the hydrangeas and let y'all watch me um, work on the petals of the hydrangea. So that's what I was wanting to spend some time showing y'all this evening or tonight. I'm so used to doing this earlier. When you make changes like that, it just takes a while to get out of the groove of repeating the phrases that you got used to. So, hey, when you come on, say hi and let me know where you're watching from, and that way I'll know what areas I'm covering. Even if you're watching the replay, put a shout in the replay where you're watching from. All right, so I'm using apple barrel colors tonight on this one. And so I have used a rustic barn color for the truck. And so we've got that already pretty much squared away. And then I used a gray color for the window and the mirrors. And I see I missed a spot there, so I'll have to go back and touch that up. It's amazing how when you move on to another color, all of a sudden you see things that you thought you looked for before you moved on. So, so now I am getting ready to work on the blue. I'm going to do blue hydrangeas for this one. I've done pink and I've done purple, and I've mixed a little bit of pink and purple in, and I'm actually going to mix just a fuzz of this is actually a lilac mist. I started to say purple, but we'll go with the technical. A lilac mist in with this one. So I'm just going to put a little dot or two over here in the lid, and we'll use that a little bit as well. Now, I'm actually going to use a brush it's the filbert tip brush, meaning that it's curved on the end. And let me see here. Nope, that one's not going to be big enough. I like to use a fairly decent size when doing the petals, but the petals I I'll color it one color, and then I'll come back and I'll actually work on the petals themselves. So we're going to start with our blue, and this is actually it's called pool blue, pool like a swimming pool. And I am just gonna put this layer down first, and then what I'm gonna do is come back over the top of it and create my petals. But by creating the petals, I'm actually gonna mix in a little bit of white, and I'm also gonna mix in a little bit of purple. So we'll get a little bit of color variation. You know, I wasn't really sure about this color blue when I picked it. I was like, this may not be the color I want. But now that I'm actually putting it on the wood, I think it is exactly the color that I was looking for. So I am happy that I went with that one. So I'm going to go ahead and just work my way around. And I could have picked a little bit bigger brush for this part of it, but I did not. So this is actually going to be kind of the background color. So you will see this shining through between the petals just a little bit. A lot of it will get covered up, but this keeps you from having to really just layer your petals on top of each other. You can actually give a little bit of space in between some of them. Hydrangea's petals are pretty layered. But when you're painting, sometimes you don't want all the petals just jam-packed on top of each other. So I went with kind of a rustic red with this truck. I've done blue trucks, I've done green trucks, I've done crimson trucks. And so this one I just kind of went with a rustic, kind of a barn red, which kind of sounds funny for a truck color, but you don't see many barn red trucks. But I just wanted to have a little bit of a rustic look to this one. We're moving out of a lot of the spring colors now that we're getting into the more summertime months. And so you can kind of pick some of the colors that are not as bright as what you would pick with spring. And so I did a bright blue truck, or yeah, it was blue. It's on my front door. You'd think I'd remember what I painted it. No, it's just I don't go out my front door that often. I drive by, I see it as I'm coming in and going out. And yes, I did paint that one blue. I think I saw where somebody else had painted it in the group I'm in, and I believe they painted it purple, but I went with a blue with mine. All right, so again, this is just the base. It's going to be the background of my hydrangeas. So as I start putting my petals in, this will be the background color, and so it will give you a little bit of breathing room with your petals. You won't have to like just completely stack them on top of each other in order to cover your background. And then from here, what I'll do is I'll start adding the layers of the petals, and I'll add some white to it. And then some I'll do with purple. Okay, so there's our background. And I mean, that's pretty all in itself, but I do actually want to have the petals here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip, and you could do this with a flat tip brush too. You don't have to do this with a filbert tip. I can't remember if I did it with a filbert tip the last time. I may be changing midstream here. So we're going to try this. I think I did it with a filbert tip, but I don't know until I actually get going, and then, my brain kind of jogs and I remember what I did. So what I'm going to do is I am going to just come in and just create some little, I don't really know what, I guess it's almost like making commas. And then I'm going to come back with just a little bit of white. I didn't rinse my brush. I'm just coming back with a little bit of white, and I'm just making some commas, and it just kind of blends in together. Now, another way to do this, to dip part of the brush in blue and part of the brush in white. So kind of half and half, and just kind of, that actually creates a little bit of a break between your petals. And you can do that one of two ways as well. You can either do it from the side, or you can do half and half and turn your brush sideways so that the white is actually more on the inside. So it's completely up to you how you want to make this look. I change up some, so I can do some one way and then come back and do some the other way. Oh, excuse me. I have a dry spot in my throat. And I'm not dipping in my paint every time, and the reason being is because not all the petals are going to look just alike. So I want some of them to go one way. And again, I'm just making kind of a comma shape with my petal look here. And I'm just sort of stacking them on the top of each other. You could actually even come in and add, um, and again, I kind of take it in different directions so it looks like they're layered in different ways. And you can actually come back and add in just a little bit of a darker color around this portion. Like this particular hydrangea bloom is creating a shadow. So let me grab a darker blue real quick and we will show you what I mean. So I'm going to grab, this one is called Cobalt Blue. It is a very dark blue. So I am not going to use much of it at all. I'm just going to put a couple of drops. There's another darker blue down there that I could have grabbed too. And if you notice, I'm not really rinsing my brush during all of this. I'm just kind of going, trying to figure out which way I want to angle my brush here. Where I want the shadow to show. And I don't want it to go a long way, just a little way, like just this one is just casting a little bit of a dark shade onto the other one. So you can kind of see how that looks. And then I can come back and layer in some purple if I want to do some purple. So on the next one, what I'll do is I'll add back in my white and I'll just start, I may want all the white to be sort of toward the middle on this one. So I'll just come in and start putting where my brush is kind of putting all the white toward the inside. And then I can change direction with it. And again, like right down here, I could add some of this darker and create a shadow down here. And if you think, oh, but that blue is too dark, well, you can run over it one more time. Don't keep going over it because then it blends it in and you can't see the darker shadow at all. But you can go over and blend it in. Even with the white, you can do that. If you think, oh, the white is too bold, then just go over it again. You could even paint another way you could do the hydrangea. I think I try to say that too fast and I end up making it sound weird. You could paint the background part just a fuzz darker. So I could have added just a little bit of black or gray to this part, and uh, it would have darkened it up just a little bit more. And I could have come through with just the blue on top of the darker, and then come back with blue and white. and layered it several times. So that's entirely up to you how you want to do that. So now I'm going to come in and I'm going to do just a little bit of purple. And I'm just going to add a little bit of this purple in various places. Not a lot of places, but just a little bit here and a little bit there, just to add a little splash. Like some of the petals have just a slight variation. And so you just start building, like I said, just little commas. And you can come back if you wanted it to be a little darker or have a little more of the purple on the edge. You could come back and bring some of that along the edge. And again, if you look at it and go, oh, that's too dark, just run over it one more time. You could dip in just a little bit of blue and just come over it one more time, and it'll lighten it up a little. But it'll still give it a little bit of that slightly different tone to the rest of your hydrangea. So again, it's just like making commas, and you can turn your brush different ways and have the lighter part in different areas. So it could go one way for a row or two and then turn for the next row and be different. And then you kind of overlap a few of them so that way you know that they are not just in rows, but that they just kind of overlap each other and run next to each other. We'll have a few there with some darker color to it. And then we'll come in and add some petals with the white and maybe some with the purple. I need a little bit of blue in there. Otherwise, it ends up being all purple. You don't want an all purple leaf. And so I just rotate back and forth. And I really don't worry about cleaning my brush because all I'm doing is just mixing a little bit and creating. Ah, yep, I rubbed the color right out of that one. So now I want to come back and add some color in. And then sometimes you may reach a point where you're just like, oh my goodness, I feel like everything is blended together on my brush. If you reach a point where you feel like everything is just blended together, then all you need to do is just rinse your brush and start again. Because eventually you get to a point where you're just like, oh my goodness, everything's just kind of piled up on top of each other. And I don't really see my hydrangea leaves that clearly. And what it amounts to is that your brush has just gotten filled with paint. So you just rinse it out, wipe it off, and just start over again. Now you may be wondering, okay, well, I don't have any filbert tip brushes. All I have are just regular flat tip brushes. Okay, well, we'll do a few with a flat tip brush and just show you what it looks like with a flat tip brush. I like the filbert tip brush because it's already curved, and so I don't have to kind of work quite as hard on my um, on doing the curves, in my opinion. And that's a preference thing. Everybody is gonna have their own thing that they like to do. So I may add just a little bit of purple into that one. Yep, didn't get as much purple as I thought I did. My purple undoubtedly is a lighter purple than what I anticipated it to be. So I'm just going to come back and throw some purple in there, here and there. And again, if you get to doing some and you think, oh, well, that just seems like it's way too much purple or way too much blue, or maybe you got way too much white, you just keep playing with it. You just keep working with it. See, I did that one a little bit different. And I may come back and look at it in a little while and go, I need to change it up a little bit. It's got too much white. Well, I can take a little bit of the light blue and just dab a lot of it out of my brush and just kind of go over it a little bit. But I think the variations of the colors is what makes it look like it's the different petals of the hydrangea. Now, on this one, I'm going to come in and add a little bit of darker blue because I do want it to look like it's being shadowed just a fuzz by that one that's right here next to it. And so I'm just going to come in and just add some of the darker blue just to a few of the petals. And then I'm going to go back to my blue and my white and just rotate my brush around in different directions. And again, if I think it's too white, then I can come back over it and it'll help to light take some of the bright white out of it and add a little more of the blue back in. And then I can also grab or pick up just a little bit of the purple. I'm not sure why it's not picking up quite as well, but I am having some issues picking up my purple color for some reason. And I'm just going to come back and grab some of the blue. And again, I'm just rotating around, going one way and then another way, just kind of turning my brush. And then it's funny because at some point I'll end up kind of in this little groove of where I can kind of flick my wrist and get it to look like I want it to, and then I'll go back and play with those others. And I'll end up doing them some more in the way that I was doing that one because I got into a rhythm of what I wanted to do that sometimes takes a few minutes, you know, Just because you pick up a paintbrush doesn't mean that it's gonna automatically come to you exactly your style or how you see it in your head, and so sometimes you have to just keep playing with it and working with it. Sometimes I've even had to just start over with it, and so, that's not one of those things that you get really excited about because 'cause you're like, "Oh, man, I just spent all this time on this one, and now it's not wanting to do right, and I've gotta." But, sometimes that happens, and I have discovered a lot of times when I get discouraged over how something looks one way, when I go and change it, 9 times out of 10, it ends up coming out a lot better or in a way that I didn't plan it to. And sometimes it's that way with the hydrangeas. I can get started with them and I think, this really isn't turning out the way I wanted it to. But then all of a sudden it'll just take off and it's like it all comes together. Now I like having the little bit of white in there just because it kind of shows off maybe the light bouncing off the ends of the the petals. So I like to go back and keep adding white to the end, to the tip end of the brush. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just dipping one end in the blue, one part in the blue, and then I just turn it around and I dip the other part in the white. And I just do little commas or miniature rainbows, however you want to call that. And then you can always come back and stick in a little purple or pink. This is a lilac purple, but once you add it to the blue, it kind of sort of looks more pinkish, but that's okay. All right, so I told you I'd probably end up coming back over here and fiddling with this one. And it's simply because I actually got into what I consider my groove over there. And I'm just like, okay, well, I can come back. And actually, some of these are ending up being a little bit of a blue, white, and purple combination, which to me turns out really cool. And sometimes you see little places where you're like, oh, well, that's too dark. I don't want it to be that dark. And so you can come back in and you can kind of uh, some of the white or some of the purple and kind of brighten it up a little bit. And again, all I'm doing when I do this is just kind of make a little comma. So I'm just kind of taking my brush and I'm just kind of turning it like you would a comma, but then I kind of almost flick it a little bit as I'm going along. So some of those darker places, I'm like, it needs a touch of white. All right, so there's the hydrangeas. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna work on the leaves a little bit while we're letting all of that dry. And then I may come back and play with it just a little more. It just depends. But for right now, I'm going to get the leaves done. And so that way you can see a little better. I like this bright green. I actually pulled out a lime green. I think, yeah, lime tree green is what I pulled out because I thought, well, I might want to add just a little touch of the light. And I might do it just on the edge, like the sun is kind of creating just a little bit of a highlight. I still may do that, but I really like this bright green color for these leaves. So I'm just going to rotate this around. It makes it easier for y'all to see and keeps me from getting paint all over me. So as far as the truck itself goes, all I've got is the bumper and the tires, and then of course the highlight marks, and also um, the word welcome, which is up here on the window. So I'll probably work on welcome once I get the leaves done, depending upon the time frame. My grandmother had blue hydrangeas in her yard, and I've told this story a lot of times. Every time I do hydrangeas or talk about hydrangeas, I talk about my grandmother because um, we kind of in the family nicknamed it her flower because she had them in her yard, and it was just like these beautiful blue. And it's so funny because I did two mason jars, one with pink and one with purple. And I thought, well, why didn't I do it in the blue instead of in the in pink? She didn't have pink and purple. She only had blue. And I actually bought a hydrangea from my yard, and it's so funny because it's I really can't tell you what color it is. Not because I don't want to share, but because I really don't know how to describe it. Um, and of course, the color all has to do with the amount of acid in the soil. And so sometimes it's sort of a pinky purple, and then sometimes it's sort of a bluish kind of. I don't know. It has a weird color to it. I'm like, all I wanted was blue hydrangeas. That's all I wanted. And I have this really weird color when they bloom. That's the other thing. They don't bloom all the time. Um, Unlike my grandmother's that just they were always loaded with blooms. And that bush was so pretty. Pretty, pretty blue hydrangeas. So when I picked up this truck, I said, you know what? This one is going to be blue hydrangeas. So that's what I did. All right, quick second coat on the leaves just to make them a really pretty, pretty green. And then I think I'm going to do just a touch of a highlight on them, just like they're being kissed by the sun with the lime green. Or I may actually mix a little lime green and a little bit of this color and see what I come up with. This color is actually called shamrock. So I like this color for the leaves. This is actually one of the ones that is an option for a paint party that I have coming up. So I am looking forward to always look forward to paint parties. I love getting to hang out with people and getting to know people and just hearing their stories. Sometimes they've painted before, sometimes they've not. And I enjoy painting and I like to see other people enjoy painting. Sometimes, I get frustrated painting. Sometimes it doesn't come out the way I want it to. And, even at paint parties, uh, folks will get frustrated. It's not turning out the way they see it, but um, I enjoy helping them either A, get it a little closer to what they're seeing and envisioning, or B, get it, bring it to a point where they love it, even though it's not exactly what they thought it was going to turn out like. Because sometimes art takes on a mind of its own, and you think you're going one way with it, and then you look up and you're thinking, well, this is nothing like what I thought it was going to be like. But then as you work with it, nurturing sounds like a weird word, but as you keep working with it and molding it and shaping it, it may not be what you saw in your mind, but it may turn out to be something that's uh, different, yes, but maybe surprisingly more than what you expected. I've had that happen quite a few times. Wow, I like that green with that blue. That is just really cool looking. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get just a little bit of this lime tree green, and I'm going to go back and get just a little more of my shamrock because I actually emptied that space out a little bit. So I'm just going to put a couple of dots there. And now I think I'm going to get my shading brush. It's not, is it in here? Yep, it's already in here from something else I was doing. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to dip partly in my dark green, and then I'm going to take the tip end, and I'm going to dip it just a little bit into the bright green. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come along where I think maybe the sun would be hitting the leaf and just create a little bit of shading where it looks like maybe the leaf is just a little brighter toward the edge. Now, I think this is one that I just finished painting and I kind of messed that up. So I'm going to have to come back to this one here in a few minutes. If I'm not mistaken, I stopped painting on that one. And I have to watch because sometimes if you get the paint, um, if you get to trying to shade right after you've painted it, um, you end up creating a kind of like a bare spot. And so I don't want a bare spot. You could even come down the middle of the leaf if you wanted to with this and create almost like a vein. But I think really all I want to do is just create a little bit of a light look on the edge to where it looks like where it looks like just a little bit of sunlight is bouncing off of it. It's just got a little bit lighter shade. And you don't really have to do this to every leaf. You could skip some, but I'm just going to go ahead and kind of hit a little bit on each leaf. Probably should have hit that with the blow dryer, and that probably would have helped with some of my pushing the paint around issue. So with this one, I'm just kind of I'm taking it toward the edge, but I'm also kind of just sort of doing a roundabout. I say roundabout, kind of a curved, sort of lighter area. You could actually bring this out a little longer if you want a little more area to have that lighter look. You could actually bring it out a little further. Just watch for creating this bald spot. Undoubtedly, I hit a place that wasn't quite dry from the other coat, so I may have to do a little bit of touch up. On a couple of these leaves. And if I do, that's okay. It will not be the first time, I promise. Nor will it be the last. All right, so we've added just a little bit, just a little touch of lime color around the edges of the leaves and just brightening up the edge just a little bit. So it could be from the sunshine, it could be just that the leaf has a little bit of a variation to it. And so now what I'm going to do, I am going to get the bumper and the tires done, and then I'm going to do the words. Oh, and the tail lights. I forgot about the tail lights. Let's see. Um, so the bumper could actually be a variety of colors. I actually always use darker gray just to have a little bit of a, I don't know, a deeper chrome look, I guess. It's not really a chrome color because that would be more of a silver, but I trade off. Sometimes I'll use a darker gray, sometimes I use a medium gray. All right, so while I'm doing this, I haven't really talked a whole lot about what's been going on around the crafting table this week. I was so excited. I got some shirts in because I really want to get some um, 4th of July prints done. And I was so happy. And then all it's done is rain. So, and you may be thinking, well, what does that have to do with shirts? Well, I want to use a bleaching technique on the shirts. And you kind of have to have sunshine for that. or sunshine is best for it. There's other ways to do it, but I really want to use the sunshine. I mean, you know, in Mobile, Alabama, we have nice hot summers, and you know, I'd rather use the sunshine and let it do the work for me. So I have the shirts, and I am just waiting for a sunny day. So that's one thing that's been going on. Of course, tumblers have been going on as well. I posted a butterfly tumbler today. Um, I have some other tumblers. I can't talk. I have some other tumblers. I started to do it again that I'm going to be posting this week. Oh, I did post a teacher tumbler the other day. School is wrapping up, and if you're still wondering, what in the world do I get my child's teacher? I do have some teacher designs in tumblers. All right, so there is the bumper. So let's work on getting the tires done. That's going to be black. And I can also use the black for the lettering. I may go ahead and do that and get that wrapped up next. And then all I'll need to do is the outlines, highlights, which I've already done some on the leaves, but I like to add some highlights to the window and the mirrors. I'm just going to slide this over a little bit. Started to flip it around, but I'm not going to flip it around. Finish up the tires, and we'll do welcome. That'll give the tires time to dry. And then I can add little highlights to the tires. All right, so I'm going to flip this upside down because I do not want to be going over the top of it. Now, let's see. Is that the round? No, that's not the right round brush. Oh, where are you, round brush that I am looking for? Nope. Okay. I must be remembering another day. Sounded good to me. Sounded good to me. Okay, let's try this one. All right, so I am actually upside down and I'm going to do it backwards. And I know that sounds weird, but it keeps me from putting my hand in the paint. And with it being upside down, it keeps me from leaning over everything that I just painted and ruining my clothes. So I'm pretty much in the camera angle. I may drop out, but it'll be just for a few seconds while I'm working on a letter. Probably could have gone with just a slight size bigger on this round brush because I feel like this is going to take a little longer than what I want it to take. I don't know. Maybe I can get in a groove here and it will work. We'll see. I don't know. It might work. Usually it works better. Usually lettering comes out cleaner if you pull the brush toward you. But for whatever reason, except for that, pushing it away from, or pulling it away from me seemed to work a little better until I just completely went outside the lines there. So I've got tumblers, t-shirts that I'm working on, and also I have um, a festival coming up. So you will probably be seeing a ton of door. Uh-oh, got my hand wet with the baby wipe, and now I'm getting touching the paint, and it's starting to absorb the water off my hand. You'll probably see quite a few door hangers popping up, extra door hangers, as I'm getting ready for a festival coming up. Sometimes I get quiet when I'm lettering because I have to concentrate. I know that sounds weird. I'm just, drawing inside the lines, but it's crazy that I have to concentrate to draw inside the lines. And two, I think it's because this brush, I thought I was getting a good sized brush, but I feel like I'm having to do twice the work. But I didn't see the brush that, and it could be that it's waiting to be cleaned or drying, not to be cleaned. It's been cleaned and it's drying. I'll do that sometimes. I'll take the brushes, use the brushes, clean the brushes, lay them out to dry, and then I forget to put them back in my little container over here. And so the next time I'm painting, I get to looking for one brush in particular and I can't find it. Well, it's still set off to the side drying. I don't know why this brush seems to work better when I go away from me. That's not typically how you would handle your lettering. That's weird. I feel like I'm doing this backwards, which is funny because not only is the word upside down, but yes, I am actually going backwards. All right, so we are finishing up the letters, and then I can just start doing the outline where everything sort of comes together. Then I can finish up highlights later. And it seems like there's some short bristles on this one, and I keep like coming up with parallel lines or something. I don't know what's going on. Again, I'm going the wrong way. Oh, that was weird. The bristles just like popped apart. Thank heavens that was not in the direction outside the lines. But that may be why I was getting that weird effect. All right, I'm gonna try standing it up just basically on its end, which also feels really weird to me. I usually have my brush tilted just slightly. Okay, down to the last letter. All right, I'm gonna hold it up straight, and see if I can make it all the way to the end. Oh, the bristles are actually popping apart. That's crazy. And it doesn't do it if, like, why is that? Hmm. Don't try to explain it. Just go with the way it works and finish the task. Either that or stop and search for another brush. One of the two. So I am down to the last letter, so I am just going to keep moving along with this particular brush and get it finished up. I could have also done this with a paint pen, would have gone way faster, but I do like using brush and paint a lot of times. All right, last little bit. All right, well, let me flip it around so we can actually see what it looks like if we were actually looking at it sitting on a door. All right, so I'm going to put that one up before it gets me in trouble because I can see that coming. And then I am going to get actually this blue one, which is one of my favorites for highlighting and outlining and all that good stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start I'm gonna turn it back sideways. I'm gonna start here with my hydrangeas, and I'm just gonna go around. And again, this could be done with a paint pen. But I do like a lot of times the way that paint looks versus the paint pen. Paint pen is fine when you're trying to get something finished up quickly, or if you've got really, I don't know, I always say straightforward lines like, well, like the truck itself. Those are straightforward lines. And I may grab the paint pen and do that with the truck. But for the hydrangeas, I don't know. I just like, and instead of outlining in black, I could have done a dark blue and had it look just a little bit different. Go around my leaf as well while I'm here. Just kind of watch and make sure I don't stick my hand in the black paint. So this one I'm kind of having to hover my hand above rather than plant my hand like I usually do, which usually gives me a pretty steady guide for my. Also got to remember to watch up here because I just finished up the lettering, and so I don't want to turn around and stick my hand in the lettering in case there's portions of it that's still wet. It should probably just about be dry. This part too is almost like making commas or rainbows or parentheses, whatever you want to call them. All right, I'm just going to rotate it around a little more and just keep doing my outlines around my hydrangeas and my leaves. And then, like I said, I may grab the paint pen and go around the truck because that's a little more straightforward, and those don't have to be lines that kind of ebb and flow with whatever you're outlining. Sometimes I like to do thin Let the line get kind of thin, and sometimes I like it to be wispy, and so that's why I like to use the paint and the brush. All right, so you can kind of see how that's bringing out the edges and defining the flowers. Oh, I did it again, y'all. Gotta hover my hand above the above so I don't get it in what I just painted. Hmm, looks like I'm gonna need some more black paint. All right, so we're almost finished up with our highlight here or our outline. I've enjoyed doing all of the different color hydrangeas. Um, I've not done kind of the green color. Oh, that's the other color that my hydrangeas have turned. They're kind of a light green. It's really, really weird. I don't think I really need to look up hydrangeas on the internet and see what the color variations are because I don't think I've ever seen a greenish colored one. But mine have actually come out kind of green sometimes. So I'm kind of wondering, what does that tell me about my soil here? Probably that it needs a lot of help. That's probably what that means. Oh, it's been raining here at our house for uh 2 days now, and all I think every frog in uh at least two zip codes have um have showed up in our neighborhood because there seems to be a chorus or choir of them between our yard and one of the other neighbors. I'm just like, "Oh my goodness." It was so loud last night. Uh, our dog would stand on the patio. Finally, he went out into the yard, but he stood on the patio forever with his ears pinned back, looking around like, "What is that noise?" Wasn't sure he was gonna go out at all. I was like, "Okay, buddy. I know it sounds bad, but I promise they're a lot smaller than you." They just sound like they're bigger than you because they were loud. Speaking of the dog, he has now showed up in the room here, bouncing around. Oh, goodness. Being a hyper baby. We call him Puppy. He's not a puppy. He is going to be 15 years old this year, so he is not a puppy. Okay, so there's our hydrangeas and the leaves, and I am going to let's see what brush here. Let's use this brush. I'm gonna get the tail lights done, and that will be everything except doing some outlining, and I can do that in what I call touch-up phase. And then show y'all the completed, post pictures of the completely finished door hanger this week. All right, so I'm gonna let that sit for just a minute. And what I'm gonna do is grab this paint pen, and I'm gonna go around the mirrors here. And over here. And I would go around the tail lights, but I do want to put another coat on them. So we're going to set that off to the side for a minute. Add another coat here. And then I may get the white one and do the tires real quick. Okay, so now white one. Let's add our tire tread. Oops, I think I'm off camera. Let's turn this sideways so that way you can see. Just adding in the little lines that show the tire tread. Oh, forgot about, I always add some little lines along the window so that it looks like it has just some little glare marks, and I usually do a couple on the side mirrors. That way it looks like there's just, a little bit of streak there for the glass. Now, let's see if I can get around these lights. Try not to get too close or right on top of the red paint just yet. It's got to dry just a little bit more. But you can see how the tail lights are going to be. I have to get that just a little bit closer. Okay, so now I'm just going to go around the bumper. Oops. Ah, there we go. Just so you can see the outline of it really well. And I think what I'm going to do is I am going to put put flowers on the license plate. I could have painted that part white, but I kind of like it the same color as the bumper. That way the flowers part doesn't stand out a whole lot. All right, so just real quick while I'm got my paint pen handy and we're zipping through the last bit of the finishing touches here. Just going to go around the window, the back window of the truck. And that way we just define the starting and stopping points. All right. There we are. There's our truck bed of hydrangeas. So thank you so much for joining me, whether you were live or on the replay. Remember, if you're watching the replay, just put hashtag replay and tell me where you're watching from, or just say hi. I like to know that you checked it out, and I can send a hi back to you. So this is our rustic red, and I did the blue hydrangeas, and I did a little bit of highlighting on the leaves. Some of it showed up pretty good. Sometimes when it dries, if I mix it a little too well or blend it a little too well, then it kind of disappears. But I can always go back and touch that up and make it stand out a little brighter. So we might do that in the touch up stage. We shall see. I hope you have a great week and keep watching for new items and also featured items, special items that maybe I have done in the past or that I am doing for the upcoming festival coming up soon. So just keep an eye out for that. And again, thanks for watching. I hope you have a great week.